Well guys, it is time to sharpen my Hogue, and I am going to do it on the Edge Pro. Now I haven't shown off using my Edge Pro yet, so I figured this would be a good shot at doing that. The edge is still fairly sharp, but what I think they've done is I think they've concentrated more on polishing this edge than truly getting it sharp. I've noticed quite a bit when I've cut with it that it just has zero bite. I mean, even for a polished edge, it has no bite whatsoever. I think they polished every little bit of tooth out of it that they could. I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay it back a little bit more. I've got this set up for about 18 degrees. As you can see, I've got paper towels laid out so that when I spray down my stones, I'll have the paper towels to collect some of that swarf and all that mess. I've also got my knife taped up so I don't scratch up the bevel. The Edge Pro is notorious for putting scratches in your knife, so if you don't want it to get all nasty and scratched up, make sure you tape it up real good. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is a standard Edge Pro stone. It is a 120 grit. I've got this set at 18 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and start the reprofile. Now all I'm doing here is getting an idea of how far back this bevel is actually going to get laid, because currently it is at a really obtuse angle. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to take it back quite a bit, but I knew that was going to happen. And this stone's probably going to get worn down through this process. So you guys may get to see what that looks like. As far as pressure with the Edge Pro goes, I use about the weight of my hand. Whatever the weight of my hand is pushing down on this, that's what I go with. Every now and then, if I've got a really tough metal that's not grinding, I will put down a little more pressure, but I have found doing so, you can start really screwing things up on your bevel. Stuff will start getting out of alignment. It's just better to go lighter than heavier. I've almost reached the apex completely on that side, so now I'm just going to do long strokes, long even strokes. Get everything evened out I want to hit that apex without creating a huge, giant burr, especially at 120 grit. I do want to apex it, but I don't want to go so far as to create a nice, fat burr. Now I'm going to adjust for my stone thickness. Got this little wing nut here that allows me to judge the stone thickness when I go to my next stone. I'm not having to fool around with it too much. And this is the 220 Stock EPA stone. Just seeing where I am before I move my stone down. So yeah, it's quite a bit of difference. And if I could show you guys this, I will. Alright, so I sharpened without moving my stone down here. Now I'm going to do it up near the tip and see if I can show you guys the difference that little collar makes. Alright, let's see how this will show up. Alright, so the base down here, I didn't use the collar to adjust, whereas the top portion I did. I don't know if you can see that line of light where the stone started sharpening versus where it's sharpening now. So now it's hitting the bevel almost perfectly, whereas right here it wasn't. Looks like it's a little too high, so it's hitting at a higher angle. That's why you want to get one of those stop collars to adjust for your stone height. Just makes judging where you're grinding much easier. Now one thing I found with this 220 stone is it wears and glazes really quickly. So if you're going to do a lot of grinding, you may have to recondition this stone once or twice during the process to get it to cut efficiently. And this is one thing about the grit on the tape I don't like. The grit can get stuck inside your tape and contaminate from one grit to the next, which can really screw up your scratch pattern if you're going for a mirror polish. That's something else you may want to account for. Make sure you remove as much of the previous grit as you possibly can before starting the next one. this is my 400 stone. This 400 stone cuts really good. I love this. I love this one. This is one of my favorites out of the entire Edge Pro lineup. I don't know why. It's just a nice feeling, nice cutting stone. One of the downfalls to the Edge Pro is if you move your hand in any direction and you don't do the same thing the next time you go through the next stone, everything will be off. This thing is perfect to a fault. You have to be perfect yourself to get things to come out right. I don't like that. If it had some sort of clamping system to keep the knife still, I think I would like it a little more. They've got a couple of different versions and models that are knockoffs that do just that, and I have been looking in them. I may get one of those versions. I'm not sure which one yet, but that's definitely one of the benefits to those models over the actual Edge Pro model. If this thing could get some sort of clamping system to hold the knife steady where it takes out the human factor, I would be much more pleased with it, and I would probably use it more than I do now. But because of that fact, I avoid it more than I use it nowadays. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the 1K stone. Oh, I didn't adjust for stone thickness. That's another thing. If you forget to do that, you will mess up your bevel. Make sure you've got some kind of way to determine and judge for stone thickness. Now this stone is very fine. It does very little cutting. It's mostly polishing, in my opinion. And you can actually let this stone glaze over and lose some of its cutting ability, and it polishes really nicely. I don't know if you noticed, I wasn't holding my hand very steady there. I probably got some errors in my bevel because of it now. Perfect to a fault. I don't really follow any set rules when I'm sharpening on the Edge Pro. I just go with what feels right. Kind of like freehand sharpening. If I feel like it's done, I move on to the next stone. I do look at the bevel, of course, and make sure I've removed, you know, the scratch pattern as well as I can, or the way I want it to. But for the most part, I don't do any set formula, you know, 20 here, 18 there, 17, 16, that sort of thing. You know, sometimes I'll do a countdown, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. But I don't always follow that. Normally I don't mess with the polishing tapes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a 4K from the Shapton Pro line, and then the Shapton Pro glass, or I'm sorry, the Shapton Glass 4K stone. So I'm going to pick up where I left off. I had to go empty my phone out, so it may not be in the exact same position it was, but as soon as it quit, I stopped, went and dumped the phone, and here we are. Now again, this is a Shapton Glass 4K. When I'm done on this one, switch over to the 8K, and then I'll strop it real lightly, just to get that final luster out of it. Getting a nice polish. Starting to mirror up. And I'm starting to get a puddle of water over here. Some of these used napkins start soaking up some of this water. Copious amounts of paper towels. Definitely need them for the Edge Pro. Now, of course, you can do this in a much cleaner way. Use a squirt bottle or something. Not a spray bottle, so you don't get water everywhere, but I just used what was next to me. I have found these rubber guards can sometimes get indents from pushing down and against them, which can alter your angle as you hold your knife. So if you feel like that's occurring, make sure you check it. It just felt like it was doing that to me on the other side. Alright, done with this one. Finally the 8K. I'm not cleaning these stones off because I'm going to go back and reflatten them when I'm done. They all pretty much need it. I tell you that Gritomatic looks really neat, and that one from Russia, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one Wrangler Star recently did a video on. It's just pricey, man. That one's expensive. Plus, because of his video, it's gotten ridiculously popular, which means order and supplies are in high demand. But still on my want list. Then again, I may just stick to freehand sharpening and get rid of all these jig systems altogether. I don't know. We'll see what happens. This bevel's looking really pretty as far as polish goes. I think I'm going to call that good. This is the final result after the Edge Pro. Now I'm going to strop it real quick. If you're wondering about micro bevels, sometimes I do them. When I'm doing about an 18-degree bevel, I usually just leave it 18 degrees. If I do a 15-degree bevel, I'll normally put an 18 or 19-degree micro. 18-degree straight bevels, though, I don't feel like they need a micro bevel. It's all up to you, though, personal preference. If you like them, by all means, do them. I like them for really, really acute, like I said, 15 degrees or below. But when I'm doing about 18 degrees, I think that's obtuse enough that you don't really need it. All right. It's my final shot. Nice and pretty. And let's see how she cuts. Sorry guys, moved you around a little bit. Like a laser beam. I'm not 100% happy with this side. It's a little wider than this side, but that's due to, one, me not holding the angle correctly, or not holding the knife steady, and two, from not adjusting that stone to show you guys what can happen if you don't do that. But you know, it's all for the cause. Take one for the team, right? There you go. That's an Edge Pro sharpening. I thought you guys might enjoy it. Thanks for watching.